Okay, for the love of raw honey, we're here with one of our amazing beekeepers, Tom Dunbar. New Zealand is a really special place for us. We harvest some of the most fabulous varieties of raw honey. And we're here with Tom. Tom is basically just going to give us a bit of an insight about himself and about how we harvest the honey. What we do with Bilqis is that we love kind of connecting with our beekeepers, and we love kind of sharing those kind of stories and getting people to know our kind of beekeepers and what drives them, what makes them passionate. And so the good thing about it is that you're here in Dubai right now, Tom, and we're just going to kind of, give ourselves a little vibe of discussion about what you're all about, the honeys that you kind of, that you sort of produce for Bilqis honey. And just generally, just have a little bit of a chit chat, my brother.
Good. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit how the hell did you get into this kind of whole game of beekeeping, Tom? Give us a little bit of insight.
Well, I started as a little tacker. In my school holidays, I was sent off to work for this beekeeper in the small village in Hanmer Springs where I grew up. Mm-hmm. And I was very passionate about it, but as things change in life, I went away and did a few other things. Stumbled across it after my career of being a professional skier, funnily enough, ended. So, there I was chasing cold winters, and here I am in the heat of Dubai to catch up with you and, celebrate honey, I suppose.
No, it's amazing. I mean, that people kind of ask, how did you go from being a professional skier into kind of being a teacher as well? Yeah. And then from skiing to teaching to actually full-time, passionate beekeeper that you are.
Yeah, I mean, life's full of surprises, isn't it?
No doubt.
I don't know. I think beekeeping is an outdoor activity like skiing and like surfing or whatever else I like, and it fits the environment of this product that we're producing. I'm not, certainly not produced indoors in a species game environment or computer. There's none of that. It's all wild outdoors, and that's where I like to spend my time. So, what was the question? I can't remember.
Just about you, basically. And the thing about it is just tell us a little bit about where you are in New Zealand, because the pictures and the images that we've got of you in those kind of unbelievable sort of fields, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I know, and I've probably taken that for granted, to be honest. Like, I come here and it's beautiful in its own right, but it's so vastly different to what I'm used to and my surroundings. And it is like, I don't know if you've seen Lord of the Rings or any of those movies,
course.
but it is. I mean, that's real. There's no special effects in that, and that's where we produce our honey, and that's maybe what makes it so special.
It's amazing. I mean, as you know, I've been a few times, and I've seen you kind of, harvest the honey, and it's a special place. There's no doubt about that. And some of the varieties that you focus on in terms of producing Manuka honey, also clover, and also our honeycomb that we get from there. Just give us a little bit of ideas, as you know.
Yeah, I mean, they're all three vastly different honeys, but Manuka, I guess, is the one that's caught global attention, and the debate goes on where it belongs in New Zealand or elsewhere. But I mean, beekeepers, we used to pay a levy for all our honey sold, and part of that would go into science, and I believe that money went into the Waikato University in New Zealand, where we discovered that it had this special antibacterial property, MgO, methylglyoxal, and we told the world about it before we truly protected that word Manuka, hence why other countries are using it as well. But it is special honey, and it's a big seller for you up here.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's one of these kind of varietal honeys that's become so much more, so much attention around the world internationally.
Yeah,
and also the kind of gradings of Manuka. You've got the different gradings, and you've got the UMF, and then you've got the...
Yeah, I know. And I've read some stuff where it says New Zealand couldn't have told a more complicated story of Manuka honey to the world if they tried. But what we've tried to do, I mean, New Zealand government had it up in an identity now where it has to pass certain tests just to be called Manuka, Whereas I'm not sure on other countries how strict it is to actually define what is and what isn't Manuka. But this is 4 chemical markers and 1 DNA, basically just to be called Manuka. If it falls outside that, then it can be called multifloral Manuka, so it's Manuka and other floral types. And then, the grading system comes after that, the non-peroxidal activity, how it's measured, and that's where it's also got confusing now. So people are struggling to...
But, I mean, you've got one of the biggest legal cases that's kind of going on between New Zealand and Australia.
Yep.
There's been so much press kind of going on about it. And, what's your take on it, Tom?
Yeah, well, my take is I just see so much wasted time and energy going into negativity, trying to protect something.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd prefer to spin the positive and celebrate what it is. And trying to say no, Australia, or no, you other countries can't use it. Well, maybe that's fair. Manuka is a Māori word, and it is, Tonga, or sacred to Aotearoa, New Zealand, and we do want to protect that, but and we will, and it's part of our identity as Kiwis, I suppose, and we believe that, and but like I said, there's just so much time and energy into that, and I do support that, but it comes at a financial, at a price, and so UMF are involved in that, in this Te Pītau group or whatever this, and a lot of the levies have gone up with UMF because they're fighting these battles and things, and it's ongoing. The saga continues.
And the thing about it is that it's unfortunate, but sometimes the end consumer ends up paying for these kind of sort of battles, and it really is annoying.
It's such a product worth protecting, though, because it's scientifically proven. I mean, there's a lot of, here in the Middle East and, Asian markets, they know honey's sacred. They know it's special and it's got all these things. But I think in the West, often we need hard science to say, yes, this is definitely works. And that now is proven. So it has got momentum, this Manuka thing. And how do you best protect that?
And that's the thing, there's protecting it and the intellectual property, in terms of the effort that's gone into kind of promoting it, marketing it internationally. And then you've got kind of the Aussies that are kind of saying, well, we've got it here, it's been here since whatever. We have a right to call it Manuka.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, there is a sort of taste profile differential from the Australian and the New Zealand. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But it has kind of got caught, this whirlwind of kind of this legal battle is kind of blown up everywhere, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, labelling food is such a big thing, isn't it? Like I've noticed over here in the supermarkets, where's that from? Everything says where it's from.
Yeah.
And people can relate their purchasing experience to that nation and what its standards are.
Yeah.
And New Zealand, I'm sure, has some of the strictest protection of food in the world, like the amount of audits and checking and, all these requirements. It becomes a trusted brand in itself. That New Zealand food products are of a very high standard. And it's hard for some beekeepers because when these rules came about what is and what isn't Manuka, some missed out saying, well, this is Manuka, and there was, until that settled in a bit, you've got to see the positive in having rules and restrictions, which is bundling this product up to stand on its own 2 feet rather than blurring the lines, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and the thing about it is that, like you said, New Zealand has invested heavily into the science behind it in terms of, the grading system.
Yep.
And also just the kind of the health benefits that are kind of coming out from all these kind of science and the studies. It's just how amazing it is.
Yeah. I meet doctors all the time who say they use it and, on wounds, and vets use it on animals when they've got horses have cut themselves and things. A lot of Manuka goes on. Yeah. It works. Yeah.
No, there's no doubt. And the thing about it is that they're even actually using it, in hospitals. They're not using any other sort of varieties of honey.
Yeah.
But for some reason, in the sort of medical kind of world, I know that there's a lot of hospitals, especially Germany that I know of in terms of Europe, where they've got these kind of Band-Aids that are impregnated with Manuka.
Absolutely. And we all know that antibiotics have a threshold, don't they? I mean, this is certainly not outside of what I know about science and antibiotics, but there's only so much your body can handle of taking them. You get slightly something, I'll take antibiotics, but if you can fix it with a natural product like Manuka, then why not?
No, absolutely. But I mean, as a beekeeper, in terms of the honey that you harvest, the Manuka, we in the industry, in terms of the honey world, there is a thing about this kind of UMF, a little bit of a controversy. A lot of people think the higher the UMF, this unique Manuka factor, the higher the sort of grade of potency. But we know in reality, Tom, that whether you take the highest grade of whatever, whether it's 22, 24, whatever, even if it's up to 30 UMF, or whether you take 5, the lowest grade of Manuka in terms of UMF, when it hits in your stomach, and it, with all those kind of digestive juices and all the acid, it doesn't make any difference, the sort of grade in the UMF. It really doesn't. The only thing that makes a difference, really, is when it's used topically.
Yeah, well, that is correct, totally. I think there's no science. It may have health benefits internally, or the methylglycol may have the same potency, but it's not proven.
Exactly.
And you may well be right that it's stomach acids that disrupt it, but it is 100% proven topically. But take that theory if it works there, and even if it, this is my bias, if it's in your stomach for like a few minutes, just to have an effect on infection or ulcers or whatever's occurring in there. Once again, this is beyond what I know, but this is... If it helps, hey, it's got to be better than putting your guts full of McDonald's or something.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is that using it topically, it is amazing on your skin. I mean, honestly, it is, there's no doubt. People use it, and even for burns, for wounds. And we were talking earlier about, Moeen Ali, one of the, the cricketer, the British.
That's right.
I mean, he
split his finger right open.
You saw there was a blister. And one of the nurses from the NHS just came and gave him some honey cream, some Manuka honey cream, and it apparently did the job. It kind of rescued the whole blinking game.
It won the Ashes for England.
This is it. I mean, so there's no doubt in terms of its healing abilities and how amazing it is topically for the skin, but internally, I mean, when you're eating it, and which is amazing.
But would that apply for all food in general then, or?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is Manuka really is it any different from that of a particular, your clover, for example, in terms of
internally?
Internally when you eat it?
That I'm not so sure. I mean, there's other biotic activity in there. And sure, I know in honeydew, this other honey, well, not a floral type, but it's from a sap in the tree.
Honeydew.
Oligosaccharides, which are, good for your stomach,
amazing.
Or like prebiotic, and as far as I know, that's proven. But with the MGO or the active ingredient Manuka, there's no evidence to suggest it does work.
But the amazing thing about it anyway, raw honey is amazing prebiotic anyway. It's good for the gut. It really is. I mean, there's no doubt that it's amazing for the digestive system to have it, sort of daily. Also in terms of immunity, how good it is for your immune system. Antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. There is so many kind of like proven scientific kind of studies that show just how amazing raw honey is. But in terms of, kind of harvesting some of these varieties, what's your kind of day-to-day thing? Tell us about it.
I mean, well, Manuka for a start to harvest is harder. It's a very viscous honey. It's really thick, and it needs to be handled with care. But so I start harvesting in January, which is when it's all sort of in the hives. But day to day, depending on what I've got planned for that day, may involve. If I'm going to a particularly scenic yard, I take my thermos and sit down, have a cup of tea, and breathe it all in and enjoy it. But sometimes I'm just racing around like a blue-ass fly trying to get all this honey in for the.
But I mean, I've been kind of on the estate. It's just amazing. I mean,
it is beautiful.
It's a few thousand acres, isn't it? And it's breathtaking. And you've got the kind of almost these Alps, behind you, snow-capped hills,
rolling foothills with thick, majestic. I don't know, a subtropical rainforest.
It's just, I mean, it is breathtaking. I mean, every time I go there, honestly, I'm thinking, just wow. Look at this place and the different fauna and flora that the bees are foraging on. And
birds are chirping while you're doing it and coming by to sort of see what you're up to. And
I mean, what does that do for your sort of, your mental health, just being in that kind of environment?
It's weird. You can have a bad day and then you drive up there and you start working a hive and look around and almost start sort of dancing to yourself in some sort of hallucinogenic rhythm, but it is majestic. It's beautiful.
And the thing about it is that just the unique kind of flavor profiles of some of the varieties. You know, you've got you've got these natural blends that you're kind of like harvesting.
Yeah, well,
tell us
that's
a little
the
bit
thing.
about
Like,
them.
we're so caught up on defining honeys by one type,
Yeah.
whether it's Sidra or whether it's Manuka or whether it's
Clover.
Yeah, and it's not always, bees don't, they don't discriminate. They gather from all sorts of plants and put it all together, and that's where mass blending comes into play with, honey gone to this side of the world to be blended with that honey to get a uniform taste and a uniform flavour profile, and it becomes quite boring after a while. So I think as honey consumers, we need to celebrate difference a bit more, like other industries do with seasons and changes in weather, and this all affects the flavour of the honey and defines it really, each season and weather patterns and things. So
I mean, I've tasted some of the most unbelievable varieties of honey from your varieties that are kind of natural blends.
Yeah.
You'll harvest, and you've actually named some of these blends yourself.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the names that you've...
Yeah, well, that one in particular, native fluorescence, if you will.
Native fluorescence. I've never heard a name like that for a particular variety of honey. Tell us about it, the native fluorescence.
I think that's kind of an acknowledgement of that environment, like you just said. It's a bounty of all these flowers and colours, and so it's everything that the bees are capturing at that time, and it's often probably overlooked as a honey and often seen as like, oh, was that Manuka? No, it's not Manuka. Oh, was that clover? No, it's not. It's native fluorescence. It's a bounty of flavour.
And that's the beautiful thing. The bees are foraging on all these kind of different nectars, and they're taking from here, from there, Manuka, the clover, from here and there. And all of a sudden, they've kind of mixed it all up. And this particular variety of honey is just, it tastes bits of everything. Literally, you can taste a little bit of Manuka, a little bit of clover, a little bit of this, a little bit of honeydew. And you think, wow. I mean, this is kind of, it's so different. It's really difficult to explain the kind of, the taste profile, because there's so many things going on.
Yeah, and surely that's got to be good for you, right? Like,
absolutely.
If you're getting a bit of everything, your stomach's going, wow, there's a lot to digest here. So no, it's special honey, and we want to celebrate that more for sure.
And in terms of you're also kind of producing some honeycomb as well.
Yep. So raw honeycomb, it's simply that. It's straight from the hive, and it's the honeycomb we do is not cut, or it's not, nothing's changed to the way it's produced. It's literally pulled out, packaged up and sent away. So I read somewhere that 15% of, all the goodness in honey can be lost with processing or something. So
I mean, the thing about it is that that we only really specialize in raw honey. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we mentioned, is for the love of raw honey.
Yeah.
And raw honey is what? What is it to you, Tom?
Well, it's the only honey, really. Like, I mean, I spoke to someone yesterday on one of your stands while I was there talking about Manuka honey, and they said that they went to open doors in a French honey factory, and they were adding sugar syrup to it and not even trying to hide it. Like, these people were shocked. They're like, do you do that to your honey? And no way. I don't even feed sugar syrup to my bees. Like, this is just not right.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean,
they said they use it as a preservative. But honey
is a natural preservative anyway. I mean, it's as that there's honey that's kind of shown the test of time from where they've seen honey from Egypt. Where they found it, and it's like over 2,000 years old, and it's still there, and it's still edible.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had sugar syrup in it.
It's crazy. There's the people think that they can add things to it to kind of make it.
I'm sure it's still happening. You know it is.
Absolutely. I mean, we know that for even in some of the brands that we've seen in the UK. Remember, I sent you I was telling you about one brand where they're actually putting rapeseed oil in it. They're actually putting some added, kind of preservatives. They're adding and they promote it as like a natural honey. And I'm thinking, what? How can you call that kind of a natural honey when they're adding rapeseed?
Yeah, right.
They're adding some additives and preservatives and
Yeah.
and some other flavorings. Flavorings. There's some kind of I think vanilla in one of them.
You need to flavour honey?
And that's the thing about it is it's just weird. I mean, it is really kind of weird that how people can think that.
I guess that's why there's a market for what you do, and what I do. It's raw honey, it's untouched, and it seems so basic and simple, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
100%.
Medicine that tastes well.
Well, this is it. It's healing, and it's one of these kind of miraculous or natural substances that really is a natural kind of for your immunity to protect you kind of daily basis. Just eat it, man. If you want to feel a bit healthy, strong, and just kind of feel you've got that energy as well, because it's amazing. It's one of these natural carbohydrates. It's just full of ridiculously multivitamins and minerals and all these trace elements. There's so many things that are going on there, and the hive products in there, like the propolis, the royal jelly, some of the wax, and all of these amazing things in there are all adding to this sort of bounty of these amazing kind of minerals that are.
Absolutely. Yeah, but it is adulterated, right? Like it's, I don't know, I heard it might have been the third most adulterated food product
in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, next to olive oil. I mean,
really, yeah.
People think that it's just honey that's up there, but there's a lot of. Weirdly enough, olive oil is another one that's kind of adulterated. Milk, believe it or not, I was reading as well recently.
Yeah.
But that's where we kind of coming into our own space.
Yeah.
What we do is that we work directly with beekeepers like you that are just passionate, and that just love creating kind of some amazing varietal honey that's in your space, that's from your kind of region, that people just love it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's other great honeys in New Zealand. I mean, there's flora everywhere. And some exotic forests and things. And, we're still learning about those honeys and haven't even thought about testing them, So who knows? There could be answers to all kinds of health.
Could be a kind of other sort of, honeys that you can market like Manuka.
Yeah. There might be honeys that you eat and you can lose weight and look younger and things.
Well, please let me know when they find one, because I'll be the number one customer for that, no doubt. In terms of, we've been working now for years, many, many years. And did you kind of ever expect that your honey would be here in the Middle East, in Dubai? Because
it's amazing to come up here and see it on the shelf and picture of my face on the jar, and and there I am. But they really around here, Middle East, really celebrate good honey, and it's an honour. It really is an honour to be here, and that blew me away, because in New Zealand we're not allowed to import any honey whatsoever because of our strict import regulations or whatever. So I come up here and I try all the amazing honeys Balkis raw honey has. And, then you learn what bees are actually up to out there, and they're foraging from all these amazing botanicals. And, so when mine's up here and I see it along these other great honeys, it's humbling. So
no, it's amazing. Even, in the UK, we're selling and promoting your different varietal honeys, whether it's Manuka or Clover. And, people love it. They really do. And they're seeing the kind of difference between some of the other brands that are in supermarkets.
Yeah.
Because there is a thing about supermarket kind of Manuka honey. People still kind of heat their honeys. There's a lot of companies that are still kind of doing that. In New Zealand, what's your kind of take on that? Well, that we're just dealing with raw honey, and a lot of kind of companies in New Zealand are still kind of like really heavily heating their honeys. Yeah,
I'm sure there are. Some of them, like with that activity levels to bring it up, you can slowly heat it, and a lot of their argument is it doesn't go beyond hive temperature, so it's not damaged or anything. But then what's worse is there's some that flash pasteurized, so it's getting zapped with extreme heat, and then it has it more stable on the shelf.
And that's interesting.
And easier to spread. Honeys that are liquid, constantly liquid in cooler temperatures, I think you've got to be a bit wary of.
And that's kind of interesting, because a lot of people don't know that you can actually almost kind of manipulate, the sort of level of the UMF by heat.
Yeah, and that's like an activity thing, isn't it? And they use a bit of heat, slow heat, I suppose. It's a tricky one. As soon as you say anything about heat up here, people really
Yeah,
gets the heckles up. And
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, the thing about it is there's some kind of countries just ridiculously heat,
Yeah.
almost kind of pasteurize.
yeah, and also
what,
like
yeah,
to move honey, as you know, it's a hard product to move when it's in bulk and huge, and the
Yeah.
warmer it is, the faster it moves. So if you're pumping it into big tanks or whatever, get the
yeah.
process going, and heat is used, and
Yeah, I mean, as long as we that you know that it's up to the hive temperature, which is
Yeah.
anywhere. I mean, it can be anywhere from 35 degrees to up to 40 degrees.
Yeah.
I think beyond 40 degrees is kind of
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because it's 40 degrees here now. At home, it's 0 degrees. Or
I mean,
whatever,
40 degrees is a little bit.
it's hot. Yeah.
It is hot.
And honey has damage on on outside being transported if it's not cooled or
Yeah.
wrapped.
Yeah.
Just,
No,
honey's
absolutely.
a fragile product. Yeah.
It is fragile, and we've got some kind of customers that think that they can subject it to extreme heat or extreme kind of like cold. There is this kind of myth that let's just put it in the freezer and let's just see what happens, and if it freezes, it's not real kind of honey.
Yeah.
And I've heard some kind of testings of how they check the authenticity themselves. These little rumors.
Yeah.
If you put it in the freezer and it kind of freezes, it's kind of like it's not real honey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of these kind of crazy rumors.
All sorts. I mean, when we first came up here, we were doing a honey tasting, and this man came along and he said, "Can I try your honey?" Of course. And I was with my brother-in-law who knew very little about honey, but he was working on the stand to help. And this guy went ahead and put it down his throat and gurgled it, and my brother-in-law held a straight face the whole time. And the guy said, "Very nice honey, I'll take 2."
And that's the thing. People have got their own sort of independent way of verifying the authenticity.
I think he's shaking his boots going, "This guy doesn't like our honey, he's going to spit it in my face." But once again, like he was just showed respect for the product, and he...
No, I mean, that's the thing. And like you said, here in the Middle East, they take their honey seriously. They really do.
Oh, I've seen that.
You've seen it.
It's
and,
amazing.
People spend thousands on honey,
Yep.
on one purchase.
Yep.
You'll get people that just want to spend thousands. And this is kind of like unheard of almost kind of in Europe.
Yep.
Where someone will actually go and buy thousands, spend thousands on honey.
That almost goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, people here have known for centuries that this is sacred, this honey, it's a special product. And in the West, we sort of fold our arms and go, prove it, mate. Prove it.
Yeah.
And then someone goes, look, so we have proved it. And we go, all right then. Yeah, all right.
And that's the thing. The thing about it is that science is actually catching up now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of studies that are proving, all these kind of different claims about raw honey, and whether it's a prebiotic, whether it's kind of antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. What it does in terms of it doesn't spike the glycemic index, because people think, it's a sugar.
Yeah.
Well, but it doesn't. It's not a natural. Just
the bees have done all the work, haven't they?
Exactly. As I'm saying, I've always said the kind of bees are like floating pharmacists. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, and the way they process that kind of nectar once it's in their, kind of gut, and with all those enzymatic properties, you're taking this substance that doesn't kind of like spike your glycemic index the way refined sugar does it. It kind of, it works with you. It works with you, doesn't it?
I did a run recently, believe it or not. You know how you get all these people that are obsessed with running and things?
Yeah.
And I got a mate like that, and he's like, come for a run. I was like, all right, how big? 32 Ks. It's going to be up and over this big mountain in New Zealand, like really steep, gut buster. So I was like, okay. And the morning of, I just ate heaps and heaps of honey, because there's this famous running coach in New Zealand, Arthur Lydiot, and he used to give his athletes honey before, and he's very successful with it. They won Commonwealth medals and whatever. And so I did the same thing. It's partly a joke because I was the honey guy, so I was eating heaps and heaps of honey. But anyway, cleaned my mate up, left him for dead. And he was huffing and puffing at the finish line. He goes, must have been that honey. I said, well, slow releasing sugars. And
it's amazing because people, what they'll do is that before they go in a gym or after the gym, they want to have like an electrolyte or, and what they'll go and buy some kind of absolute filthy
totally.
junk
Yeah.
that's got all kinds of crap in it, all these kind of sugars and all these kind of chemicals and additives and preservatives. When really, if you just kind of like created your own electrolyte, all you need is some honey, some water, and a pinch of really good salt.
Totally. Yeah.
And that's it. You've got some unbelievable kind of electrolyte that's going to replenish and rehydrate your system like anything that you can imagine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's been overlooked, hasn't it? Honey's been overlooked for so long.
Absolutely. And we've been talking together about creating some kind of drink as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We will.
We will do that. There's a lot of stuff that we want to do, but, you know, just kind of that mentality that, you know, you can do some fabulous things with honey.
Yeah.
You know, not just for the immunity side, but just to replenish, to rehydrate, to kind of feel strong. And that's what honey does. It makes you feel strong.
Yeah, yeah. You bounce back quick if you're flat from it. And
100%. There's one of my customers in the UK. He's about 78 years old, and he's an ardent fan of honey.
Yeah.
And he buys different varieties.
Yeah.
And he's been kind of taking it regular, and he spends a lot of money on honey. And I go out with him now and again. He's an amazing guy. And I said, what is it that you feel? What is it that's one thing that stands out that when you take it, what do you feel? That because you keep buying it and I'm interested. You know what he said, Tom? He said, I feel so strong.
Yeah.
I feel strong, so strong. I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, for someone that's, you know, is not a spring chicken. We're not, you know, that he's in his kind of like late sort of mid 70s, and he can have something as simple as some fabulous raw honey and say that he feels strong.
What a shame Popeye didn't have it as well. And we go, that's what made Popeye strong, not the spinach. Yeah. Yeah. No, it does. Everyone's got their reasons for taking it, and like slow releasing sugars, so it sustains you for a long time.
And one of the amazing things about it is that honey is an amazing carrier. You know, you can infuse kind of spices. If you know, some of the beekeepers are herbalists that I also kind of work with as well, especially Yemen. And you know, they've treated a lot of ailments, and they're on this alternative therapy mode where all they want to do is use kind of herbs and spices and raw honey. They use raw honey as an amazing carrier.
Yeah,
you know, that they can infuse with, and honestly, they've treated a lot of people with all kinds of medical conditions, and it works. Yeah, you know, they're seeing some amazing kind of success rates,
and other bee products too, like pollen, and you know, there's stories of people surviving on that, you know, just a bowl of rice and pollen in hard times, and they got everything from the pollen, so the bees are foraging on these different nutrients. And
again, these hive products, they're just amazing. It's pollen or propolis, and you know, kind of the royal jelly that's in there. I mean, you know, you'll get trace elements of all those kind of hive products in raw honey, because it's not super filtered, it's not heavily pasteurized, so you'll get all those amazing kind of wonderful kind of hive products, they're in there.
I've got a friend in New Zealand who just asked for it as raw as possible. He goes, I don't mind if there's the odd wing or bee leg, because sometimes when you're working them, obviously you don't want to impact them as little as possible, but you know, they do, you know, and they pass sometimes, bless them, but and the odd wing hairs up here, or he's like, I know then 100% that it's raw honey.
It's authentic. Yeah, that adds to the kind of whole authenticity kind of vibe.
So I've had like frames that I've dropped and have broken, and they've got a bit of grass and dirt on them, and a couple of squashed bees, and here, have this. It's like perfect.
No, it is amazing. There's no doubt about that. And it's been really good having a chat with our amazing beekeeper, Tom. This is the first part of it. Come back soon. And don't forget, for the love of raw honey, subscribe, share, and like. Okay, thank you very much.